Welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Terran versus Protoss, where our Terran player is starting off with a very quick barracks on the other side of the map. Spotting right here in the top right-hand corner of the map altitude, playing with the blue Protoss probes from Denmark, we have MaxPax, and his opponent in the opposite corner with the red SCVs, going double gas as well. We're looking inside of the main base of ByuN. Alrighty, so this is one of those openers that allows you to put quite a bit of pressure on your opponent early on, but it's only a single barracks. And oftentimes, with a build like this, we only see a single Reaper as well, but it's a little bit annoying. Luckily for MaxPax though, he has decided to put his very first pylon right over here on the high ground in such a way that if a Reaper decides to jump in there, he can't really get a whole lot of vision, or at the very least, he's gonna be forced to go all the way back around in order to reach that mineral line. Luckily though, for this barracks over here, this is some sort of StarCraft magic that doesn't really make a lot of sense. As soon as this Reaper spawns, it's gonna be rallied into the main base of our Protoss player. However, normally, right, it would take the shortest route, which would be using the jetpacks right over here and then, well, going into the main base. Even though ByuN hasn't seen those structures, as soon as this Reaper spawns, it's gonna go around the long way. So, as soon as this, finishes up, ByuN is already gonna know, okay, this is gonna be a wall off right over there on top of the high ground, which I always think is a little bit funny. Maybe there's some sort of GPS system or sonar or echolocation or something. I don't hear them making any noises, but I mean, there's animals out there, dude. They're incredibly impressive. Maybe the Reaper does also have some echolocation going on. Anyways, so far, not a whole lot of damage is being done, but of course, this is forcing, okay, a lot of probes away from mining, which is a little bit annoying. A single worker has gone down so far. Stalker just popped out of the gateway as well, though, so you will live. You will live. For the time being, anyways. And, well, the same can be said right here for our Reaper. But yeah, nice little start right here for ByuN. The main downside of proxying that single barracks on the other side of the map is now that, well, the factory needs to build its own add-ons. I know. Generally speaking, mechanics in the factory, they're a little too good to make their own reactors and tech labs and all that. In this particular case, though, they don't really have another choice. Zealot going across. Stalker, okay, wants to hunt down the Reaper, but it also is going to be forced to go across, apparently. And that's a big indicator, yeah, that there is another Stalker awaiting on the high ground here instead. Okay. Zealot is going to start knocking at the front door here. Not a whole lot of units available. Reaper is going to try and sneak back in. Okay. There you go. For those of you unfamiliar, that is a move you can make. You just gotta, well, throw a grenade at your own feet. More magic coming out of these Terran units. You do love to see it. In the meantime, though, on the other side, looks like these Widow Mines, just seeing the Widow Mines was enough. I don't think anything really got killed, but don't do it, Zealot. You have so much to live for, Mr. Zealot. Yeah, so the Widow Mines are basically unburrowing one at a time to try and get close to the ramp, and that's ultimately going to allow that command center to fly on down towards the low ground. Now, even though the Reaper did sacrifice itself, it did see the Phoenix production start up, and that is huge. I think otherwise maybe ByuN would have gone for maybe double Widow Mine, so 2 sets of Widow Mines for 4, I don't know, math. And then into a medevac. In this particular case, he decides to go for a Viking first. Okay, so this certainly means... Did the Zealot just die? I just heard somebody... Okay, I guess it must have walked into the Widow Mine right there. MaxPax hoping that he could sacrifice the Zealot and trade it out for a mine, but that's not going to happen. Anyways, this does mean, though, that ByuN is going to be up with his back against the wall for a little while. He knows he's going up against Phoenixes, and Phoenixes, of course, are very good at keeping that map control for at least a little while. It's not really... Yeah, you can't really do a whole lot when you know there's Phoenixes out on the map. You kind of need to get an overwhelming army before you really can properly start contesting it. So, for the time being, it's going to be ByuN. Okay, I didn't even see that Widow Mine. I think that must have been one of the Widow Mines that we saw moving back towards the main base. Anyways, yeah, for the time being, ByuN is going to have to defend. Now, Phoenix is one of the very few Protoss units that actually survive a direct Widow Mine hit. They kind of look like paper planes, but they're not. They're actually quite tanky. That being said, though, even though most players do want to play defensively against Widow Mines, this is ByuN we're talking about, of course. I don't think you want to make a move right now, ByuN, but hey, you've proved us wrong many times before in the past. Third Nexus, though, coming up in the meantime on the other side of the map. And are we gonna go for a Robo Bay as well? We do have a Robo Facility. No Robotics Bay just yet, which concerns me a little. Generally, we see Phoenixes follow up with, or followed up rather, with a Robo Bay straight into Colossi. But apparently we're gonna stick around on Immortals here for a little bit instead. Okay, so we have double Gateway, a little bit of Immortal production, and now we're gonna go into the Robo Bay. Okay. Anyhow, ByuN powering up his own production as well. Going for a cheeky little early game, proxying the barracks, but apparently the man is more than happy to play that defensive game instead. Third command center at this point is done. He's building an orbital command. Nice little bit of movement right here, though, forcing the denial right there of the lock-on. He sees a juicier target, however, and he tries to go after that Raven. He does get the Raven, but at the cost of 2 of those Phoenixes here as well, and also a whole lot of damage taken on the others, right? Obviously, Protoss units, they do regenerate their shields, but, I mean, there's no way for you to get your health back on these units. Well, there is, actually. If there were Dark Archons, it would be possible. In 2 versus 2, or I guess team games in general, you can repair Protoss units with SCVs. So if there were Dark Archons in this game and he could, like, permanently mind control one of those SCVs, he could then use that for... But other than that, yeah, there's no way for him to get the HP back right here on these units. Colossus is coming up right now. MaxPax apparently reading ByuN correctly here and recognizing, okay, even when I don't go for the fastest possible Colossus follow-up, if my opponent has a third command center, he's not likely to make a move out just yet, so I'm gonna be okay. Phoenix there does lift off that one Widowmine that hurt one of his friends earlier, or maybe him. And in the end, this is certainly a nice beginning right here for MaxPax, but it's important to not overestimate the advantage either, right? Terran players are generally the ones that are slower to expand. So right around the time that the third command center lands at the third command center location, we do have a 4th Nexus coming up as well. So MaxPax setting himself up for a nice little macro game. Double upgrades inside of the main base as well, so double Forge. We've got extended thermal lens coming up, we've got charge coming up, now the gateway explosion. The explosion de gateway, as they say in France. It's coming up too, so up to this point, MaxPax has just really been relying on the heavy hitters, combined with these Phoenixes, and then building up his eco, and now eventually we're actually gonna get into the core of the army. It's very easy, though, to accidentally overmake the heavy hitters, right? And not really have any buffer for them. So, assuming he finishes up charge before Terran goes for an attack, he should be okay. And the army right here for ByuN is certainly growing. So, if ByuN wanted to go for a fight, right now would be the time. Infantry weapons level 1 as well as infantry armor level 1 just finished up. And that's exactly the cue that ByuN was waiting for. He's gonna go across the map right now as he's following this up with quick ghosts already. There is an armory out, okay, so that is important, so he can go straight into 2-2. 4th command center followed up here as well, so ByuN also ready to play a nice little macro game. Maybe he was intending on going for a push. Yeah, he's actually playing pretty passively. I don't know, I've noticed this over the last few weeks from ByuN. He's always known to go for those YOLO moves, especially with Medivacs, right? Even against Phoenixes, he will still YOLO in full Medivacs units into the opponent's base, but he seems to be playing a little bit more conservatively. I always wonder if that's on purpose, right? Or like if ByuN is losing confidence, right? Because it could be that he's just experimenting with a different playstyle, which I would be A-okay with, right? But it could also mean that he's like, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm kind of scared. I'm just gonna sit back and make an expansion instead, right? Like I'm a little afraid it's option 2. But ByuN, of course, still a top level Terran, so maybe my concern, maybe he's just respecting MaxPax. That could also very well be. MaxPax genuinely one of the very best Protoss players in the world right now. This man doesn't really die. He seems to be a magician when it comes to microing these complex unit compositions too. Always sending in the Zealot run-bys. You're always thinking about what your next best move is, right? And maybe ByuN has decided, you know what? My next best move is to make an expansion. Okay. So, 2-2 fired up right here for the Terran about, well, 45 seconds or so ago. Maybe a little less than that. And now we see the same thing on the other side of the map as well, as we have our Protoss going into the 2-2 upgrades as well. So both players just tiptoeing around one another, setting themselves up for a late game. Planetary Fortress will be starting up right over here at the 9 o'clock position. I think that's a wonderful move. Because effectively, these guys are becoming next-door neighbors on the left side of the map. These are some very nice lasers, though. These zealots will get cleaned up. But those Colossi are having a grand old time. It's a very Marauder-heavy army, but the Marines in particular, they are going to melt, quite literally, against all of those Colossi. Zealots, in the meantime, do get cleaned up on the left side of the map, but it's a significant chunk of the Terran army that's... Ooh, he wants to go into the main base, man. It's a significant chunk of the Terran army that's been tasked with defending that Zealot force. So, I was gonna say, as soon as these units join the main battle, you gotta be very careful here as MaxPax. Sacrificing 2 more Zealots here. Okay, at the very least he gets one of those Widow Mines. Good EMP as well by ByuN. Okay. This is, again, a very conservative fight as well for MaxPax. MaxPax used to be a bit of a YOLO player too. Well, I'm talking like 2 years or so ago, and he wasn't as good as he is right now, but he used to push very aggressively to the point where, you know, it was just too much. But he's really stepped it up with playing solid macro. Now here's that Terran army coming in from the side as well. ByuN getting a decent flank going over here, but I honestly don't know if I agree with it. There's still a Disruptor in the mix as well that should have a Purification Nova available. Additional Zealot Warpins now coming in from the right as well, and those do deal a lot of damage. +2/+2 has finished up in the meantime for ByuN. The armor upgrade for MaxPax is lacking a little behind. Free Disruptor over here. Okay, not bad. I don't think anybody's really winning this fight. It's just that the Colossi are still up, and they're constantly firing, right? And generally, whenever you see Colossi continuously firing, it's very scary for the Protoss, or sorry, very scary for the Terran player, because they deal damage over time. It's not necessarily just the kills that they get, but obviously these Medifex, they don't have infinite amount of energies. So, or infinite amount of energy, rather. You gotta be very careful. Ooh, Purification Nova over there does connect on the ramp. Massive concave, though, right here for ByuN as he's trying to once again flank right here from the top. That is a pretty Marauder-heavy force, and most of the buffer right now that used to be in front of all of these Colossi is gone now. Another Warpin would be really nice, Mr. MaxPax, but he decides apparently to mostly just give up on this. Sorry about that, Laser Giraffes. You guys are gonna be sacrificed, well, in the name of the greater good, as MaxPax chooses to evacuate a couple of his Disruptors out of this plane instead. Or inside of the plane instead. Anyways. Good cleanup right there for ByuN. That was very dangerous for a while, but he got it done. 3-3 fired up right now for MaxPax. ByuN. Going for the +3 armor first. This is something that ByuN does time and time again. In case you're wondering, is that the correct move? No! When you can only go for one of the 2 upgrades, they cost the same. You should always be going for the attack upgrade instead. So much better. Genuinely, so much better. Anyways, especially against Disruptors, it makes no sense. Ghosts here are going down right now to this chasing Protoss army. Yeah, look at the Medifex, man. They have no energy, so yeah, these units, they've been stimming and fighting for such a long time that they just don't have a lot of HP remaining. A little bit of a Widow Mine drop over here up north. Good reaction speed as well there by MaxPax, by the way. I didn't even notice it yet, but 4 probes are only gonna go down right there, but he obviously will need to address the fact that those Widow Mines are still burrowed there too. Okay. Disruptors do clean up whatever they can. 6 Dark Templar also coming up. Okay, all the way up north. There is gonna be another shot right here coming out of that Widow Mine, getting another couple kills. Same can be said over here, though. Up north, is it going to be retargeted? No. It's going to go after the probe that was standing right on top of it. That probe accepting its fate. It had about 30 seconds to, well, make its final wish. Little sad right there, but the Widow Mine also did clean all of that up. Okay. The Invisible Men are now out. They're going to get the Shadow Stride ability too, and they have apparently been called to maybe even join the main battle, as ByuN is now trying to flank this from the back. Picks up those units that were, well, mostly caught off guard inside of the Medivacs, and he's gonna join them with the main army once again. The Invisible Men, despite the fact that they're invisible, they do leave behind a little blur. It's like an invisibility cloak from Harry Potter, I guess. Anyways, they're gonna try their very best. Actually, no, I think that cloak is completely invisible, isn't it? It's been a long time. Anyways, Shadow Stride is about halfway done. Very long upgrade. He wants to commit right here with the DTs before that upgrade is done, but I wonder if he should have waited a little bit more, because now the surprise is spoiled, man. Yeah, now MaxPax has told his opponent, yo, look, I have got invisible men. I have got some Dark Templar. I've got some ninjas with swords and capes and all the rest of it. I think he probably should have waited a little bit longer. Anyhow, ByuN is going to double down on the missile turret production. Of course, these are also detectors, so they can see the Dark Templar, which is very important. Dark Templar, in a way, in this matchup, have kind of become like glorified zealots. So when you get to the point where like zealot run-bys are an option, but you can go for Dark Templar instead, a lot of Protoss players have been going for Dark Templar instead, even though they're way more expensive. Their DPS and utility is obviously much better too. Okay. In the meantime, though, MaxPax has been doing a phenomenal job expanding here. I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. ByuN decides to go for this base over here, so he really wants to be neighbors. Okay, MaxPax a little bit more introverted. He decides, you know what? I'm gonna expand away from my opponent. Maybe I'll just take all of the bases on the right side of the map. And ByuN is like, yo, you wanna be friends? What about we go on, like, I don't know, neighborhood barbecues and all that? Big counterattack right here, though, from ByuN. The entirety of the Protoss army is on the left side of the map. Yeah, there's just not really that much available right now for Protoss to defend it, so... Even though this Nexus was maybe a little introverted, it is gonna go down. Poor guy. In the meantime, though, the Zealots and the Dark Templar, okay, they've broken the natural expansion, but the Terran units are gonna be able to pull that back, and that Dark Templar, that Zealot army, it's not gonna be able to snipe that, that one ghost that was walking around there for a while. Marauders here, Marines, they do all get cleaned up. So at the very least, there was some revenge right here for the Nexus, but in the end, I think this is going pretty darn well right here for ByuN. Look at the amount of resources he's lost so far compared to the Protoss, right? That is a very substantial amount. Obviously, income-wise, MaxPax has been ahead. So that is something you gotta take with a grain of salt. ByuN is playing much more efficiently, though, with the army that he's got. They're going right now for the building armor as well. I wouldn't mind seeing the high-sec auto-tracking. Look at him. Sniping a couple of the Dark Templar here in the Watchtower too, at the expense of what seems to be a ghost. A lot of the Terran army, though, is on the right side of the map once again. That's exactly what ByuN had planned. He's gonna lose a command center over here on the left side of the map and a lot of SCVs as well. Yeah, but at the very least, he's gonna be able to snipe a Nexus there, and maybe even a second one. Recall is gonna be used right here by MaxPax, but it's only part of the army. A lot of the heavy hitters are still on the other side of the map. Disruptors, mostly the Knight. That one Marauder made a flip as soon as he got hit by the Purification Nova, but yeah, as soon as this is... Oh god, you're going the wrong way, buddy. As soon as the Purification Novas are no longer available, this Terran army is absolutely going to destroy those Protoss units. Here's those Colossi right now finally joining in the fight. ByuN needs to get on out of there, though. These units are too low in hit points. Pick up the Ghost in particular? No, we're not. Okay. We're just gonna... Okay. Well, you guys were going on a one-way trip. I don't know if you realized it, but that was a one-way direction. And there was no way for you guys to get home, apparently. Either way, though, that group of units traded very efficiently. That was a good trade right there, taking down, well, at least a healthy chunk right there of the Protoss army. That being said, I don't think he really should have sacrificed all those units. He probably should have lifted off and hung out over there in space for a little while. Either way, 3 additional orbital commands are coming up. We have 1 more planetary fortress, maybe, although that command center could certainly turn into an orbital 2 if it decides to grow a little hat here. We'll have to see. Dark Templar showing up all of a sudden here at the bottom of the map. Are they going to be able to kill the command center? No! So that's also, again, a loss right there from MaxPax, who's now also going to test the waters here on the left side of the map. Is he at the very least going to be able to get this command center? I mean, he's got to be so careful. The longer that he hangs around here, the more time he's giving for that Terran as well to get on over in this area. Another orbital command immediately ready to replace this, and here's that flank I was talking about. ByuN wants to get revenge right here for the orbital command and the planetary. Okay. Looks like he's gonna be okay. At the very least, he saves these units. Yeah, losing those Dark Templar down south really does suck. These Dark Templar are not cheap. So Blizzard nerfed it. Okay, I should hold that thought here. I don't think MaxPax really wants to fight this unless he gets the high ground advantage. Okay, that Widowmine actually also sniping, I believe, a couple of those Vikings. Anyways, back in the day when the Dark Templar blinked, they could immediately attack, right? So they would blink and instantly start swiping. But now there's a small delay between the blink and that swipe. And I think if that was the previous patch, the previous multiplayer balance patch, that Planetary Fortress would have been super dead. Anyways, at least the fight over here on the left side is won, though. Yeah, and that is real good right here. That's a command center going down, and I think this second one may also fall. Only a little bit of hit points, only a couple of hit points remaining. There you go. Very nicely done. At the same time, though, there is a counterattack here as well from our Terran player once again. Finishing the job that those other Terran units started earlier, the ones that so ruthlessly got sacrificed. He's gonna now break into the natural expansion too. Dark Templar is gonna get to safety outside of that scan radius. Keep in mind, there are orbital commands available, but a lot of them have gone down, so it's not like Terran has that much detection anymore either. And in a base racy type of scenario, yeah, the Dark Templar are incredibly valuable. Also, keep in mind, you cannot actually scan. That was a really big Widowmine hit. You can't actually scan if the orbital commands are flying. So that is something to keep in mind here, because there's not actually that much energy available right now anymore for scans. And additional Dark Templar would be amazing here. Then again, though, the Dark Shrine right now inside of the main base of our Protoss player is very exposed. Widowmine's over here trying to show up, trying to deal some damage. That one likely not going to get much done. Second one also not achieving much. There is still that Planetary Fortress, though, at the bottom of the map. Oh, Purification Nova. Pretty good detonation. Okay. Yeah, he's warping in whatever he can. The last Dark Templar, as the Dark Shrine is gone. This Planetary Fortress may actually be the saving grace right here for ByuN. I mean, imagine this game right now without this base. ByuN would be very dead, no? Yeah. I mean, maybe he is still going to end up losing this base, but it is minutes later than the original intent right here for MaxPax. Who's in the meantime losing some units here on the left side too. Dark Templar are being chased right now. EMP is gonna temporarily reveal them as well. So that's another way, I guess, to get detection right here on these DTs. There's still plenty of ghosts available for EMPs. That reveals them for a little while. Electromagnetic Pulse. I think that's what it stands for. Anyways. Zealot here on the Watchtower sees the movement right here of that Terran army. Looks like the Nexus is all we're really going to get. Both players have lost a lot of their tech, a lot of their most important structures, but both players also still have a nice standing army. Here's the Dark Templar though. Oh my god, okay, these DTs. I think they were originally tasked with defending the home base. They were walking on the right side of the map anyways, but now they just got a whole lot of damage done. Terran's actually getting to the point where he doesn't really have a lot of workers anymore. Only 6 SCVs remain right now for ByuN. MaxPax has 47 workers. I mean, a lot of them are, I guess, I don't know, long distance mining here and there. He obviously does not have the luxury to reposition this. Only a couple mineral fields remain though, which is kind of tricky. Okay, a little bit of damage being done. I mean, losing probes at this point, not a big deal. I think it's actually beneficial for MaxPax, so he doesn't have to add on too many pylons. This Dark Templar over here. Trying to kill all of the SCVs. Only a single worker now remains. Look at that bad boy, carrying 5 minerals in his hands. One Dark Templar walking through this army as well somehow. More DTs going into the main base though, and... I mean, when you reduce the worker count to, well, 1 SCV... every scan becomes so valuable. Recall right here on these DTs, and they do manage to get back home. Nicely done. Okay, I think this base is the obvious next one to acquire right here for MaxPax. But he's, yeah, prioritizing the Robo Bay over here. He lost the Robo Bay over there. I guess he must have queued up a couple of disruptors or something along those lines. Either way, he is still producing some of those high-tech units. Disruptors, of course, in these scenarios with a lot of chaos are absolutely amazing. Wait, hold up. Did that Dark Templar just finish the job? There's 1 SCV. Oh no! The SCV was still returning minerals. Poor guy. Okay, so now ByuN has 0 workers. ByuN has 0 SCVs, but he has a dream. And also, a little asterisk right next to it. Also, a massive army. This is not a Terran force that is to be underestimated. Ghosts with EMPs are super scary. And ByuN in general, with this sort of army, is super scary. And now he really doesn't have to split his attention to anything else. All he needs to do is just look at this force. Then again, though, he needs to be very careful. He knows that MaxPax has a small amount of mining. At least you'd imagine so. He's got a lot of probes, but there's not really a lot of minerals that are actually coming in right now. Yeah, only 55 minerals a minute. You need to mine for 2 minutes here to get 1 zealot worth. Okay, good engagement right here, though, by ByuN. Getting the concave. That purification nova, though, was amazing. And those siege tanks, well, of Colossi, I guess, right? They're kind of sieging from a distance. Maybe they're not quite that tanky. Anyways, they do end up dealing a whole lot of damage there as well. MaxPax doesn't really have any mining either. 2 more invisible men walking around the Terran's main base, just trying to deny, well, whatever they can. But it turns out, honestly, there's not really that much for them to deny. We do have a command center. I actually quite like it, taking up the position of the planetary fortress from earlier. He's got quite a bit of energy remaining, but he needs to make sure he has energy for scans at all times, because otherwise these DTs could just be a disaster. Although at this point, yeah, only 3 of them remain. Okay. So MaxPax is looking around, and he's probably gonna snipe that mule here momentarily too, although he still has those ghosts, obviously, for detection as well. Okay. Long distance mining here on the left side of the map. Yeah, no, he's hunting the ghost. Or, sorry, the Dark Templar. The ghosts are hunting the DT, and they do get it. Nice little mini game right there by ByuN. Playing a game within the game. Insane long distance mining over here. Disruptor's trying to go for a lucky purification nova. They did get a decent shot, but one of the disruptors also got sniped. This is actually really wild right now. ByuN has been sitting at 0 SCVs for a long time. Okay, now he makes a new one. If the mules have any say in the matter, though. Oh, the ghosts over here also get killed. Nicely done. Look at that guy getting his head sliced off. Probes here soaking up some damage, too. These Terran units obviously do have a pretty quick fire rate, but if the, probes soak up some of the damage, this is pretty playable. MaxPax now trying to go for a Templar Archives. I guess he's looking at his gas count. He's like, you know what? Archons would be absolutely amazing. Observer right there does get sniped, though. He's got 2 gateways. He's been denying his opponents mining for a very long time as well. Yeah, so if you look right here at the income, I mean, both players have a pretty bad situation, okay? Pretty decent set of force fields there. ByuN, well, once again, ends up losing a chunk of his army. These are the reinforcements right here. This is what we've been building up for the last 3 minutes. 6 Marines or so. This is still a large Terran army, though. 79 army supply for Terran versus 42 for Protoss. We have 1 Disruptor, 1 Archon, 3 Colossi, and a couple High Templar, or sorry, a couple Sentries right there for Force Field, but he ends up losing one of them without Force Fields. What in the world are you going to do against all of those Marauders? And that's exactly what ByuN is thinking as well. ByuN stims forward, takes care of all of those heavy hitters from Mr. MaxPax, and because of that, it's ByuN who obtains the victory.